Okay, this is the second video in a series which is going to introduce you to application development using Adobe Flash CS6. In the previous file we created a couple of files, the fruit game flash file and the game class file, and we also set up a project. What we'll be working on today is the game file itself. We're going to create a few assets, and this will involve using some of the shape tools such as the oval tool, the colour window, and the selection, or maybe even the sub-selection tool and the pen tool for certain types of example. So what I'm going to do is try to create very quickly a few examples of fruit that will become movie clip symbols so that we can use them inside of our application. The reason there would be movie clips is because we need to be able to speak to them to control them, and movie clips have instance names, so we can do that. So the first off, I'll do a very simple apple shape. I take the oval tool, and in the properties I'm going to set a stroke colour to be black. I'm going to have a black outline, and then I'm going to have a greenish colour for the inner of my apple. Now if I hold shift I can constrain this to be a circle. If I however do not, I can change it to be more of an oval shape. I'm going to go for roughly a circle, like so. And then changing from the shape tool, or the oval tool, to the selection tool, I'm just going to hover over the edge of the outline, and you'll see the cursor changes a little bit. This signifies that if I now click and drag, I will change the shape of, let's just do that, of the fruit. Okay, so ideally what I'm going to need to do is to just put a little dimple. So using the add anchor point tool, I'm just going to select the top of this line. There we go, put an anchor point in there. Using the sub-selection tool, I'm just going to select that point created and just drag it down a little bit. There we go. And that should change the shape a little bit. And then all I'm going to do then is use the pencil tool to create some leaves or a stalk. So there we go, a little leaf shape on a stalk. Maybe put some veins in. There we go. And try to join them up. Okay. And then maybe also have a slightly different colour for the fill. So using the paint bucket tool, I'll select a slightly darker green for my leaf. There we go. Then using selection tool, I'm going to need to select the whole shape. Now if I double click here, I'll select the outline for the main body and the main fill, but not for the leaf. So what I need to do is I need to click and drag a marquee as this around the whole thing, and then right click and choose convert to symbol. Then convert into symbol. I'll give it a meaningful name. Now this is just a name for the library, but we will at a later point be creating classes from this, so I need to make sure that I'm going to keep my name in a standard, so I'm going to use a capital letter for the first letter of the name. So it's a meaningful name, it's Apple, and that will go into the library as such. A registration point I'll leave as central for this, and check that the type is movie clip. Okay, now to allow for future videos I'm going to export for ActionScript also, and then I'll click OK. OK to that too, and then from now on whenever I create another movie clip symbol at this point I will be using the same method. Okay, so let's move on and perhaps create a watermelon. So I'll use the oval tool again. I'll perhaps use a similar colour to start off with, and I'll draw a much bigger oval shape. There we go. I'll just move this over to the side, perhaps delete the apple off the stage so it's not distracting, and then I'm going to use the same method I did to select the whole of the apple to select a portion of this. So I'm going to drag a marquee over the top half, or roughly the top half of this shape, and then by pressing delete on the keyboard I'll remove this. I'm then going to reapply a stroke to the outline because currently there's no outline across the centre, and I can do this by clicking on the paint bucket tool and then choosing ink bottle instead. There we go. Just hover over that, click that, and now that is done. Now I'm going to change the fill from just a green to a radial gradient, so we can give it the impression that it's a watermelon section. Okay, so I'll choose radial gradient, and this defaults the colours to black and white, so I'll have to then change my colours to go from perhaps green through a pinkish colour, and perhaps put an extra one in for an orangey colour. Maybe the pink needs to be a bit more red than that. There we go. Maybe a little bit stronger. And currently it doesn't look much like anything, but it will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the gradient by using the gradient transform tool. And start off with, I think I'll change the shape of it so that it's elongated like so. Move it like this. There we go. Rotate it. What we'll actually need to do is just invert the colours. So I'll just move the green across to that side, the orange across to this side. There we go. And I'll just resize the whole thing a little bit by zooming out. So I can grab this. And that's starting to look a little bit more like a melon slice. Okay, so I zoom in. You might want to put some seeds on there or something, which you can just do with perhaps the pencil and choosing a basic colour, maybe a red colour or something, which you can just draw some flecks on. Actually these are black because I've still got my pencil colour set to black. So I'm sure you get the basic idea. So then I'll just drag a marquee around that. Right click, convert to symbol, call that melon with a capital M. Movie clip again, and export for ActionScript. Okay. And just perhaps do one more shape. I think I'll just create a pear-like shape. So I'm going to use the oval again. Greenish colour for my pear. And I'm just going to create an elongated oval to start off with. And then I'm going to use the selection tool to hover over the top of it and to just stretch that out a little bit. Okay. Hovering over the sides, I can nip it in a little bit. Maybe just a little bit more emphasis like this. Okay. Just give it a bit more of an odd shape. I'll then just draw a little stalk on top of it. There we go. Perhaps make that a little bit thicker. So then properties. Let's change the stroke size to like that. There we go. Perhaps I'll also give it a bit of a gradient fill. So again, I'll choose radial gradient. I'll get rid of this red and this yellow. Get rid of the red. I'm going to keep the yellow actually. And then I'm just going to use the gradient transform tool to reposition the centre of that. And then perhaps I'll resize it. There we go, so we've got a little bit of a more detailed effect. So the whole thing, and I'll convert that to a symbol. I'll call that pair. Export ActionScript. Okay. And so ideally we would continue this until we had about 6 different types of fruit. And I think that's where we'll stop for now.